Hello, welcome back to Bookshelves, and happy fall. It's finally here. I'm so excited. This is my favorite time of the year, and I know it is many on the internet's favorite of the year. Being that it's the beginning of fall, it is also back to school season, and I thought that I would hop on and offer some academia books, a little book recommendation list, a little bit of the light, a little bit of the dark, just to kind of get you back into that academic mood. So I have a selection of light academia recommendations, dark academia recommendations, and a few books I'll kind of pin on at the end that I have not read. So they are not official recommendations, but they are books on my radar that I want to read because they are in some way tied to that academic spirit. I'll also offer that I'm going to be using light and dark more so to comment on the tone of these stories, more than like a true dark academia definition in particular. Not all of these stories critique academia inherently in the way you might expect sort of a true dark academia to do. That is more a comment on the vibe. So take that kind of as a grain of salt when you're considering these recommendations. Okay, I have what might be my last iced coffee of the season with me. I hope you have a fun bevy too. And with that, we can go ahead and dive in. So to kick off our light academia section, I thought I would start with a whimsical favorite of mine, and that is Witch Hat Atelier. This is a manga series. It is probably like middle grade reading level. This is a very sweet and whimsical story about a young girl named Coco who's born into a world where she's under the impression you have to be born with magic to wield it. She learns through perhaps suspicious circumstances that might not be true, and is soon whisked away to learn all about magic with some of her peers, her fellow witch students at an atelier. I love this book series so much. I know I characterized it as magical and whimsical. It is also quite heavy. It deals with real, serious issues, questions of power and how it is wielded. And I love that gets serious when it needs to. It's not just about the fun and creativity of magic, it's also about its responsibility. And for Coco, her teacher, her master in this setting, is a really important figure in her navigating all of those hard lessons. This coming of age story is really guided by that teacher and by her fellow students, and it's really shaped by this schooling experience. So it's a really fun way to remember the fun of learning and the importance of learning. And I love this book. I will recommend it widely as often as I can, and is a pretty light way to start this section. Next on this list is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, an absolute classic, a YouTube darling. I'm sure you've heard about this book. Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies follows Emily Wilde, who is a professor at Cambridge of Dryadology. That means that she studies real life fairies. And because of that study, she is also doing a lot of scholarship out in the field. And so we see her mostly doing her field work as opposed to like in the classroom. But this book feels so academic. It's full of footnotes and references to scholarly debate. And it's a very fun and whimsical story too. We follow her in a new magical land. She's interacting with fairies. She has this sort of quirky, funny, kind of poke at you relationship with another professor who comes on the trip with her somewhat begrudgingly for her. And it's full of good humor and really fun, creative magic, while also sometimes leaning into some of the creepier elements of fairy folklore. It's written in an epistolary fashion, so you're getting the whole story in Emily's journal entries, which again just adds that little extra air of scholarly nature. And they're such fun books. I highly recommend them. The last book on my light academia list is one of my all-time favorites. And honestly, if you've already read Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, if you like those books, you're gonna love these books. I think they are everything. And that is A Natural History of Dragons. It's the first book in the Lady Trent memoir series by Marie Brennan. These books are very similar in nature to the Encyclopedia of Fairies. They are memoirs as opposed to journals, but you're getting that kind of like really voicey, inner monologue-y style of writing. And in this case, we're in a fully secondary world, not just a magical version of our world. And we reflect on the life of Lady Trent. She's writing these memoirs as an old woman, but she starts all the way back in her childhood and kind of talking about all of the scholarly impulses that led her to become the person that she was by the end of her life. And Lady Trent is basically a dragon anatomist, which is so cool. So in this world, we've got dragons are real, they vary by region, and it's kind of a riff on Victorian England. So it's the age of discovery. There are explorer scholars everywhere, but women are not really permitted in that space. And so we see her fighting for her right to do this work, all of the creative ways that she starts to get her feet wet, even though she's really not welcome in these spaces. And then later, how she fights for her scholarly work to be recognized by the Academy, and all of the ways that she creates academic community inside and outside of the Academy, given the ways that she has been restricted by the nature of her being a woman. So it's so fun. It's got that like fiery, like almost suffragette energy to it, but you're also going to all of these incredible foreign lands, seeing these dragons. And she actually, because she's an anatomist, there are sketches all throughout the book of the different dragons as she encounters them. And I just love that. So, it really alights the imagination. And much like Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, there's also all of this commentary on the nature of scholarly debate when she encounters something that's kind of under siege academically. And she thinks and talks a lot about the repercussions of scientific work, the importance of scientific work, and also the responsibility that comes with those discoveries. So it's really wonderful. It's really whimsical. There's some romance in here. She's very funny leading lady. And outside of all of the kind of joyful whimsy, there is also some really serious issues that are addressed and a bunch of cool dragon art. So I highly recommend this book. It's top notch. It's probably my favorite light academia book I've ever read. Okay, on to dark academia, and I've got 3 more recommendations on this topic for you. First of which is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Now, this took the internet by storm several years ago. I confess I've actually only read half of it, but I feel that I have enjoyed the first half of it enough that I can recommend it. This is an example of someone who is living perhaps a scholarly life, even if they aren't associated with an institution. And that is because Piranesi, our main character, lives in an enormous, seemingly never-ending house. And he knows no other people except for one who comes to check in with him every so often. And he doesn't know any world outside of this house, and so he's sort of studying it. He wants to understand this house, which is functionally his world. And so we follow him through this like sort of dark, creepy, mysterious place as he documents it. He documents every ounce of it that he can. It is that sort of scholarly documentary impulse that I think makes this book a really good fit for that sort of darker, mysterious academic recommendation. I really enjoyed my reading experience of this, and of course it does come highly recommended by truly everybody else. So this is a really fun way, particularly to enter dark academia reading, because it's not too heavy, it's not too dark, but it's very spooky, mysterious. Next on my list is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I have talked about this book on the channel before. I've recommended it before. I really enjoy this book series. A Discovery of Witches is set in our world where there is magic as well. We follow Diana Bishop, who's descended from the Salem Bishop witches, and she is a professor at Yale who teaches history, particularly like alchemical history, which is very cool. And she gets caught up very unwittingly in a search for this old academic text called the Book of Life. It's a world where there are witches, vampires, and demons who all live hidden among the human society. And all three of these supernatural beings have a vested interest in understanding kind of the origin of their species, which they believe is in this book. And so we kind of go on this really sweeping journey with Diana, searching for this book to kind of get everybody else off her back, but also kind of grappling with the like rejection of her magic that she's lived with most of her life. We see her start to learn magic and like learn about the world around her. Her love interest is a vampire, and he is a biologist. So throughout the story, we're like searching for this ancient text in this world of magic, but we're also in modern day. And there are these really fun, interesting ways in which both of their areas of study become really pivotal to the story. And so here again, we're not in the academic institution too much, but we are relying on those really scholarly skills throughout the story and the relationships to the many institutions that they are sort of networked within. And it's just so much fun. I will say this is also, in addition to being like a mystery fantasy book, is also technically a romance. I don't like the romance in these books. It's super alpha male possessive, and that's not my jam. That being said, I like the rest of the books enough that I look past that. And if you struggle with that like I do, and you particularly struggle with like being in it, like reading it so closely, there's a phenomenal show that was made of these books, and I actually think it's better than the books. So you can check it out. I actually think it was just acquired by Netflix. So Discovery of Witches on Netflix is a super fun, moody, gothic, fall aesthetics show that I would recommend, even if the book is too much for you. Last on this list for dark academia recommendations is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Another classic, another book that I have certainly talked about on the channel before, but gosh darn it, I just love this book series. This story follows Alex. She is a young woman down on her luck. She's experienced a lot of trauma in her life, and she is kind of mysteriously invited to an academic institution, I think Yale, to join one of their like magic houses. And that invitation comes because she can see ghosts. So she is sort of invited to the house that monitors all of the other houses' magic and gets tied up in this sort of mystery story on campus. This book is told across multiple different timelines, so it's a little bit hard to follow, but it is more of a true dark academia story, and then it has a lot to say about kind of critiquing academic institutions. And I absolutely love it. The magic is really interesting. It's dark, it's creepy. The relationships that are forged are really meaningful and interesting. The mystery itself will absolutely suck you in. And I just think it's an absolute blast. It's a heavy book. I definitely recommend checking out trigger warnings before you pick it up in case you have anything you need to watch out for. But it is absolutely worth kind of puzzling through some of the harder timeline jumping that happens at the start and end. Okay, those are all the books that I have to recommend to you, books that I've read and that I love that fall into these categories. I wanted to offer just a few rapid fire titles that are on my radar that I would like to read that I think fall into this bucket of books. They aren't official recommendations because I haven't read them myself, but you can definitely find reviews for them out there in other places. And they're all books that I'm interested in reading, so they might also pique your interest. Those include both Babel and Catabasis by R.F. Kuang, who is kind of the queen of dark academia fantasy writing. She's also written the Poppy War series, which is set in a war college. All of those books are highly recommended across the internet. Babel looks at sort of magic that is translation-based and a student rebellion at Oxford. Catabasis follows like a super toxic grad student who accidentally kills or witnesses the death of her professor and goes all the way to hell to get him back. The Poppy War series looks at kind of a reimagining of the Opium Wars in China through a fantasy lens. And we follow a student at War College who then actually engages in warfare and kind of like sees how that totally shifts her worldview. All of those sound super interesting to me. I'm also really interested in reading the Magicians series by Lev Grossman. I love the TV show, and I've heard that the books are similarly excellent. They follow basically like magical grad school and two childhood best friends, one of whom is invited to this school and the other of whom does not get in, but encounters instead like hedge magic and like street urban economies of magic instead, and all kinds of stuff unfolds. It's a big epic adventure. Another heavy one, definitely check out content warnings for it, but a series I'm super interested in picking up. Last on my radar for these books I'd like to pick up that you might be interested in too is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wong. M.L. Wong is the internet's darling, and Blood Over Brighthaven follows the first ever woman mage in this world who is kind of grappling with both the sexism of her experience studying in this university and also kind of unlearning a lot of bias that exists around another sort of neighboring country's people. Sounds super interesting and definitely more in line with like those true dark academia recommendations where there's a heavy critique of the institution involved. Okay, those are my rapid fire recommendations. I hope you enjoy. If you are going back to school, whether you're a student or an academic teaching somewhere, I hope you enjoy your back to school season. And for the rest of us, happy fall. And with that, I will see you all in another video soon. Bye.